All right, so this section is team building, and for today's team building exercise, we're gonna pick up this dead tree. It's gonna take a lot of work. We're gonna have to be totally in sync with each other. Just kidding. But how funny would that be if we just decided to go pick up a dead tree? All right. More so, we're going to talk about being out at camp and how that impacts us having to work together, because honestly, nobody can do RFK camp on their own. We have to have a team of people. We have to have the right people. And we always want to have people in the right role, something that feels like it's in their wheelhouse, something they're confident in doing. And yes, as a counselor, it's always scary coming out because you don't know your kid yet. You don't know what they're going to be like. But we also still want you feeling like you are called to that role, that you're confident that you can do that role. And yes, we've had people do last minute changes to fill in somewhere. People have been amazing at that. But at the end, we still want you in the right position for your skills and your personality. But we have to do it as a team. We have to have everybody working together, and half the battle is utilizing people's strengths in the right space, and the other part is just knowing we have to work together and support each other. So the lasting impact of camp is not in the planning and the actual camp's ground, but it's in God's love being exhibited in the volunteers and reflected directly to others, to the volunteers and to the campers. We know that it's God's love that radically heals the pain of the lost, wounded, and brokenhearted, and our purpose is to show that in every aspect and every task out at camp. And that can't happen without the team connection. So I just want to encourage you all to look for the genius in people at camp. We usually ask in our first time interviews, what is your pet peeve with working with other people? And that's more so to get an idea of what people find irritating, what people are looking at as frustrating. And while those things might be horrible, can we look at what makes people really good in the role they are? Hello, Mr. Dump Truck. What makes people really good in being a counselor? What makes them really, really good in working with the youth staff? What makes them a great grandparent? Find the positives and the skills that everyone has in their role. We want to make sure that we are serving these kids, and that means supporting each person in their different roles. We will all have different roles out at camp. You will see people doing different things, and maybe sometimes it's going to look like people are sitting around doing nothing while you're a counselor running around like crazy, but everyone has different expectations of the week. And so don't think of this as a week off. Don't think of this as a whole bunch of event driven stuff. Don't think of this as an escape from reality. Remember that this is a missions trip, and we want to impact the campers, and we want to be ready to work together. We also want to just acknowledge you guys have really big lives, and you're all doing stuff. You all have things going on, and we might have weight and stress we're bringing to camp with us just because of the inevitability of being human. We have things that are going on. We all have a variety of opinions and thoughts and issues and stress, and so we know it is a big ask to say, put your life on hold for these 5 days, like put everything aside and come work with this camp for the week. We know and we acknowledge that you are really giving a big gift of yourself and your time to come out to camp, and if you are leaving a family behind for the week, that they are doing without you, and that is also a really big ask. So thank them for us as well. We honor you guys for choosing to focus on camp for this week and having an amazing time that impacts both the kids and you with positive memories. But we also have to remember that we can't do this in isolation. We can't do this unconnected. So we can work together, but we need to make sure that if we are having negative feelings, we are expressing those to the leadership and make sure that we're not having anything of gossip or impatience and selfishness going on, because that's going to trickle down to the kids. You may think no one's going to notice you're complaining about something, but complain to the right people, complain to your deans, complain to leadership, and let's fix those things rather than having it eventually impact the campers with negative behaviors and attitudes. So Mother Teresa wrote the Paradoxical Commandments by Dr. Kent Keith as a poem called Do It Anyway. People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of being selfish or ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you succeed, you will win some unfaithful friends and genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity, happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. Give the best you have, and it will never be enough. Give your best anyway. In the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. Please bring your natural, beautiful, wonderful self to camp and work alongside others that share your heart and desire to serve the children. And we have had a phenomenal team the last few years. I foresee no issues, but it's important to mention that sometimes the hardest part of doing anything like camp is working with other people. And the people every year are amazing and fantastic, but like I want us all focused on that. I want us to really have that priority of everybody here is serving in a specific role with specific skills. And honestly, God just makes me see you guys differently and new every year. I keep thinking, I'm like, oh, God made my heart grow 3 sizes. Took a Grinch like Shayna and made her see people and the beauty of their volunteer work. Like, that's great. And every year it's just kind of like he does it more, where it's just like, now look at that. Now look at them. Look at how they're serving. And it just makes me get very, very, very squishy, honestly, to see you all be the hands and feet of Jesus for these kids. Whether it's you're doing perler beads for hours, or mopping the cafeteria at 10 p.m. at night, or cleaning up the dress-up cabin again, or untangling another fishing line for the kids, and just constantly planning the next meal or running errands. And you all just have never-ending dedication out at camp, and it blesses me and amazes me more and more each year with the uncommon graces you guys bring and just give freely at camp. So thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit now just about a little personality quiz sort of thing. It's not really a quiz, but RFK always recommends you do the color personalities every year, and we've done them in past years. I think I probably sent them out for online training in past years as well. But this year I want to talk about something a little bit different, but kind of same, and also thinking about how we can relate this quiz to our interactions with the campers. So first of all, right off the bat, let's talk introverts versus extroverts, because we need to value both at camp. And there are times I have seen maybe this one at play in personality differences out at camp most, in that maybe the extroverts are being extreme and big and loud and wonderful, and the introverts are going, calm down, be quiet. Like, you can see that at play. Or sometimes the extroverts are being intense and being like, why aren't you getting on the hype? Like, why aren't you joining me? And so just kind of honoring that people recharge differently, honoring that people have different capacities and different bents of their personality. It doesn't make either one wrong. It doesn't make either one an issue. It just means that we have to be recognizing that we need the hyped up extroverts to lead activities and parties and make things fun for the kids. And we also need the laid back, quieter, contemplative people that are just ready to sit with the campers when they need a quiet moment. So both are really important. So honor them. Depending on what order you're watching these in these, I'm quoting Mr. Waternoose again. Be aware of your energy when you're entering the space. It's all about how you enter the room. Cue Sully. We want to make sure that we're not coming in hot all the time. We want to make sure we're not coming in loud every time. We want to make sure we're not coming in too soft sometimes, and just being aware of that, but also not expecting every person to do things like we do. It's okay. I think the biggest example I have of this is Thursday, when you might see Jeff and I, because that's the most often time Jeff and I start getting cranky with each other, is Thursday when we're exhausted and both trying to clean up or finish camp in a successful way. We're getting so much better than we used to be. It's fine. But also, I would mention on years that it's really hot, if we have a really hot week of camp, make sure you're watching yourself, because the capacity goes down if we've had a really hot, draining week at camp. Your coping skills go down, your emotions just get way more close to the surface with that. So being aware that hot weather will exhaust you more, faster, quicker, longer, whatever. And we need to just take care of each other in those moments and be willing to recognize when we've reached our limit. And then, so let's talk about the animal wheel. So this is by Evie Pompouras, who is a trainer for secret agents. And she works with the archetypes of engaging on the animal wheel. And there are 4 animal types. I grew up with the animals of lion, beaver, otter, and Labrador. No. Yeah, did I do that right? Yeah. So this one's similar to that if you've ever looked at that personality types, but there are 4 animals on this wheel, and as I read them off, you can kind of decide which one is your natural personality bent. Lions' best traits are being in charge and guiding and leading with natural authorities. The monkey's best traits are being affable, supportive, social, and warm. A mouse's best traits are being receiving, thoughtful, follower, respectful, and patient. And this one's new for me. It's the T-Rex, who's direct, frank, conflict-oriented, and forthright. These are strengths of each personality type. These are the good qualities that when you see them shine, this is what comes out. When you're in the right role, these make you excellent, effective, and successful. But they also have negative traits when these archetypes are used poorly or inappropriately. I think people, you can think of people you know in these bad types, but this is more so supposed to be in labeling behaviors, not labeling people. So don't be labeling people meanly for the heck of it. But any personality can use their natural personality for evil as well as for good. So the bad traits would be: lions are demanding, dogmatic, rigid, bullish, or micromanaging. Monkeys can become oversharing, overwhelming, lacking in boundaries or tact. Mouse's bad traits are avoidance, disengagement, shutting down, and uncertainty. T-Rex's bad traits are attacking, punitive, sarcastic, and anger. And yes, you can probably think of people that you have seen do that, but let's focus on ourselves for this moment and just knowing good and bad traits. What animal are you most like? You will have just naturally gravitating towards one, but you can guess then maybe who are your siblings, who your spouse, who's your kids on this wheel as well. But again, remember, label behaviors, label tendencies, label natural leanings in this scenario. But when you will have a natural leaning towards one, but we are all combinations of these animals. And the point is to also move through the wheel. So you are, maybe my natural personality is going to lean towards lion, and you want to be able to be T-Rex when the moment requires it. You want to be mouse when the moment requires it. So I would normally come in with authority and leading, but not every situation with a camper is going to need me to be a lion. Sometimes I'm going to need to be mouse. Sometimes I'm going to need to be monkey. And honestly, I'm also quite easily can slip into monkey when I'm not being task oriented. And that's the next part of this, is that there are 2 viewpoints for this archetype. So are we being in an instrumental mode or an identity mode? So are you in a relational mode or task mode? So if I'm in task mode, I'm totally being in lion, because I'm going to now act in a tactile sense and I want to get something done. I want to complete a job. But if I am in a relational or identity sense, it means I'm probably operating in a more personal, more relational interaction versus having to accomplish something. So what this would look like practically for me as my personality is I want to get things done. I want the tasks listed out. I want to cross things off my list. And then my goal is to then have free play. Like, I want to get to free play, man. I don't want anything on my list because then I can be monkey and I can just go with the flow. But like, I can't if there's lists in my head. I can't if there's things I'm thinking about that have to get done. So I will probably be lion in order to get to monkey, and sometimes vice versa, knowing I have to switch. But if you come up to me and you say, I'm having a really bad day, I'm just so off and I feel this and I don't know what to do, and you talk to me when I'm in like a tactical sense because I'm trying to get my list done, I'm probably gonna just be like, well, that's not really a big problem because you didn't do anything wrong. Like, that was like not your fault. Like, you didn't really have any control in that, so you should just feel better and move on, because I'm in task mode and I'm gonna fix you and then I'm gonna move on so I can get to the rest of my list. But if you come to me in a relational sense and I'm in a relational space, like, I have had time to sit with Jesus and I've had my coffee and I am a little bit quieter with my soul right now, then I'm probably going to be like in this super relational space and be able to really engage identity wise and not task wise and not make you a task. And I think people that have been in relationships, this is not unusual. Like, for you to like try to share with your spouse, to share with your mother, and then they try to fix you versus hear you. So understanding that maybe this is that sense of instrumental and task orientation to complete a job or to help do something versus relational identity conversation wise. So recognizing that people engage in these personality types in these two different contexts. Meet people where they are, recognize if the person is in a function or feeling space, and then recognize the actions to the correct animal. Now, this is a wheel, remember, so we're going to move through the animals on rotation as needed. You're gonna maybe sit in one longer, but can you go into T-Rex mode when the moment needs it? Can you go into mouse mode when it needs it? Can you be lion when the moment arrives? We are all a collection of these. So now let's go with some examples. You may be like, I'm a total mouse every single day. Like, you could never make me go lion. I would never want to be monkey. Like, that's horrible. And yes, maybe that's not something you naturally want to do, but like, I bet you if these kids really wanted you to engage in the foam pit with them, like, you would find it in you to be monkey and play in the foam pit. If you really needed to lead because you have an entire cabin of mouse and nobody will make a decision and no one is feeling comfortable enough to be honest, you'd find lion within you to then lead your campers. So I believe in you. I believe in you. And honestly, I've seen a mouse person go T-Rex, and it's very powerful and very needed at times. If you're going to communicate well, sometimes you really got to go T-Rex. But let's imagine you have a monkey kid climbing off the bus and they're just excited and playful and ready. What animal would you meet monkey with? If they're being in this functional mode or if they're being in an identity mode, either way, I would meet monkey with monkey. And this is because there's nothing monkeys like more, there's nothing more that extroverts like more than meeting another one that wants to go off and play. This is my mother whenever she's with her sisters and it's just like chatter and goofball city. Monkey meets monkey. Match that energy. If you have a camper that is a mouse, you might have someone that's quiet and withdrawn, not sure what they want to do. This animal I would be more inclined to meet with lion or with mouse. So it depends on if they need someone to give them voice and let them choose just in a way slower, patient, respectful manner, or do they need someone to give them a little bit of guidance first? So we might lead them with lion and show them how things work and demonstrate things for them. We might, really be teacherly through that, and then let them later on start leading themselves once they feel like they have their footing. If you have a kid that is a lion and they're maybe saying big things or being really bossy in the cabin, like you might need to kind of give them something that they can be controlling over. They might need to be in charge of the schedule and be like, hey, you watch the schedule and help us stay on time, okay? Like give them a task. But also with lions, they respond really well to respect. So when you have a lion kid going off and being lion, you might need to be very respectful and very patient and not lead big in those moments for those kids, because they need to feel like they have shared power. You will build a lot of trust for lions, especially for our kids that have probably felt powerless, if they feel like you are going to lead quietly from mouse. And then you can have T-Rex. So what if you have a T-Rex camper? These kids are gonna be so direct with you that you might think they're blunt, or you might think they're hilarious. It depends. I think I've had both. When I was a counselor, I had a T-Rex camper, and she just made us laugh the whole week long because she was so funny, because she was so blunt. And it was okay, and it never got into rude. It was just hilarious the whole week long. But you can also have the bad T-Rex where they're being a little too aggressive and punitive and even violent maybe. And so with T-Rex, though, if they're being a bad T-Rex, you can only meet T-Rex with T-Rex. They will respect your candor. They will respect your directness. And they will probably just fight with a lion. They'll probably just fight with a monkey. They'll fight with a mouse. But another T-Rex being equally direct will handle the situation, because T-Rexes are conflict oriented. They want conflict to have a resolution. They will go to town on it. So I can remember one kid specifically where when he got upset, it was aggressive, it was big, it was loud. He never got violent, but it was loud, and you thought he was just going to force his way through. And then the moment I would be like, no, this is not your choice. That is that camper's choice. That is that camper's spot. That is their place. Like, you don't get to have an opinion on this. You're done. You need to stop and leave it alone. And they would. But you had to get them to that point where you had to get me to that point where I was that blunt with them, that direct with them, that this is not an area where you get to have any choice. So the T-Rexes love conflict, and they have to have conflict resolution. So if they might think they're being blunt or direct, but they can be rude, and you'll have to flat out tell them that they can't talk like that. If you have lions or T-Rexes being bossy, you might have to really redirect bad talk, and making the cabins feel like a safe place for everybody. With lions and T-Rexes, I would probably maybe be loud in a scenario in order to get their attention, to be big, show up big for a moment and say, hey, you have my full attention, like I'm focusing, let's talk. And then we'll change over to mouse once we have an initial established interaction. But just noting that you can show up T-Rex for these kids, you can show up lion for these kids, you can show up monkey for these kids, you can show up mouse for these kids, and really be serving them still. You're really helping them learn skills and develop maybe missing moments in their development, missing moments in their social skills. You can be really, really instrumental in helping them, both in your natural bent and in just your ability to flip for the moment and help them. Now, those are some camper scenarios for this, but you can also have these interactions everywhere you work or live or move, but with other volunteers out at camp. Just being able to recognize maybe that your cabin mate is a lion, and every now and then they just start being leaderly, and you're kind of like, oh, calm down. Recognize that they're operating in their strengths as a lion, and maybe how do you meet lion? Recognizing that maybe you have a T-Rex roommate and they're a little bit aggressive sometimes, but they're also going to really help in communication at times. Like, it's going to be helpful. Can you note people's or campers' current animal and just respond appropriately, respond in kind, respond with the right animal to move things forward? Because in the end, our goal is to keep things moving forward, keep the moment, keep kids moving forward, keep the moment going, keep our team unity going. And we don't do that by homogenizing everybody and cloning people. We do that by working with everybody's different skills. How can you respond well in the moment, meet their animal as they are, and then work through it and carry on without hard feelings towards anyone involved? Being aware of the energy you bring to the room doesn't mean you're responsible for how others experience you or respond to you, but it does mean that you know how you're showing up. Be self-aware in those moments of how you're showing up. And then, just as a note, because I found it most interesting, which animal do you think makes the most natural and best leader? I shouldn't say natural. Best leaders are mouse, because they can enter a space thoughtfully and respectfully, and they can learn to use lion and T-Rex and monkey as needed. They will actually gain people's trust and respect and loyalty because they don't feel overrun by mouse leaders. They feel included. So when in doubt, I'd say enter as mouse and change through the wheel from there. It will change every room you enter. It will change. But when in doubt, enter as mouse and get the vibes before you react. If you are doing this video in a group setting and you want to discuss your personalities, I know some people find that so awkward and uncomfortable. You don't have to. But if you want to discuss your personality that would be most naturally you, and which one would maybe be the hardest for you to encounter, or which camper would be the hardest personality to work with for you. It's okay to acknowledge these things and kind of note where you would feel uncomfortable, where you would feel out of place. What animal are you, and can you learn to move through the wheel?